but she won't tell him it's the rebellion. So I thought that was a very, very good scene. Welcome back to the Sundowners Club, where we are going to be covering Disney Plus's Star Wars Andor, Season 1, Episode 7, The Announcement. And real quick before we get started, if you like what you hear today and you like what you see, please leave a comment below, hit the like button, and most importantly, hit subscribe so that we can grow the channel. Without further ado, the man to my right, Sterling, what's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you?
Good. So, Andor, Episode 7, The Announcement. It seems like this show, they have of a 12-episode Season 1 of a 2-season series. They've got little mini stories that's coming in blocks of 3. It seems like that we have that going on. And last week's episode, where they basically robbed the base on Aldhani for the payroll, and now we have the blowback from that and the announcement. I know that you've had kind of concerns about, God, this is slow. Am I into this? And you liked the episode last week with the heist on Aldhani. What did you think about, real quick before we get started, about the announcement this episode? Does this have you a little bit closer to being back on track with them? What did you think about the episode?
I'm a little more interested in it because now you're starting to see that what they've done has actually an impact in the Star Wars universe. You know, they started mentioning Palpatine and that he's aware of what happened, and so I said last week when we talked about it that they needed to kind of bring in some older characters, tie it together with characters that we already know that are established, and I think they're setting themselves up to do that, and I think that's what they're going to have to do in order to make it interesting, and I think they're getting to that point where they're starting to do that.
Well, we saw early on in the episode when the ISB convenes, because now they know that something big has happened, and so it is on their radar. And we do see one of those characters that your casual fans would not recognize, but for those Star Wars fans that have read the books and the legends and the previous movies, we see Colonel Wolf Yularen that with a gray mustache, the gray hair, comes in and over the ISB. I
didn't know who that was.
That's from the original.
Casual alert, you caught me. That's
yeah. So that's someone that's coming in that obviously is higher up the food chain. We're getting closer to Palpatine. We're getting closer to Moff Tarkin, and so comes in and basically says, "Look, we have a problem." And then we basically see Deidre, who I've been talking about, is one of my favorite characters. I want to learn more about Deidre. She's the character with ISB with the blonde hair, and now she has basically been proven right that her suspicions are true, that this is a coordinated effort, and so they are going to put their foot down on all the systems, outlying systems, to basically instill Imperial order, and that means less freedoms and more restrictions on individuals throughout the galaxy. And so, again, we knew that Andor was going to not just be able to ride off into the sunset, but we see the beginnings of the Empire saying, "Look, this is we're going to put a stop to this." And so I thought that was interesting. You saw more of Deidre, and then I'm still trying to figure out Cyril, where they're going with Cyril. He gets a job. He's a glorified?
I have no idea. I thought
worker
at first,
bee.
Yeah, maybe he was the main villain, and I was like, this is the worst, least intimidating main villain in Star Wars history. But I don't think that's what it is. So I don't know where they're going with him.
I think he's going to turn. They're setting it up for either Deidre or Cyril in the next season, or the second half of this season, going into the next season, to turn and join the beginning of the rebellion. One of those two is going to turn. I think. I'm trying to figure out Cyril. He's basically has a programmer job. But he's back on Coruscant, and he's going to find his place, because we still know that he has the hologram. He knows who Cassian is in terms of his face.
Right.
And so, what the time will there remains to be seen. But and then we see Mon Mothma going to Luthen's shop, because now she knows that the heist has happened, and she's freaking out. She's nervous, and you see Luthen's determination. He's like he doesn't care. This is a means to an end. Whatever it takes, this is what we're going to do. So you saw another side of Luthen and his relation to Mon Mothma.
Well, you see another side of the rebel forces in general, because it's like they're trying to do things to make the Empire lash out. I think he mentions that, So it's the Empire's obviously they're an oppressive force, but it's like these events are going to make them the Empire that we know from Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like it's like they're trying to make them worse than they already are. So I guess more people will want to join the rebellion. That's kind of the vibe that I got. But what did you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that one of the things that we've started to see is the rebellion starts to form. We're also starting to see that the ISB, what was the relationship to the ISB to the Senate, which is getting disbanded by Palpatine, and we see that at the beginning of A New Hope. The relationship between how the rebellion forms, how they're going to get all these ships, how they need money. Who are some of the characters that are going to be leading that? There's the political side of it. There's the guerrilla side of it, the military guerrilla side of the rebellion, and so you got to begin to win a little bit of hearts and minds as well to form any type of rebellion, and so that's true in this story. But the ISB, you see Yularen basically saying we're going to levy taxes, we're going to have stiffer crimes, and if you're a system that harbors any of these elements, you're going to pay the price. And so you start to see it's the closer tie into what the Empire was, and by the time we get to the New Hope,
right,
and even to some degree Rogue One, but and then we see Cassian, for a guy that's supposed to be smart and savvy, he
goes back home.
Yeah,
that was dumb.
He goes back home and he's trying to tell his adoptive mother that join me, come with me. She doesn't want to go. She's too tired to.
She acts like she wants to fight now, right?
Yeah, she's going to be part of whatever happens on the
80-year-old woman is what they need to fight the Empire.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
And you're thinking this is not a smart move. You're back and you're trying to get people to go with you, and nobody's going to do that. And so he now has a bounty on his head, and so he leaves and takes the money, the credits, and ends up going to what I think is like Star Wars South Beach or Star Wars Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
He's holed up on this beach place that again, why did he go somewhere where there's Imperial presence? That wasn't smart.
Yeah, and they just picked him up for no reason.
Well, because he's walking around staring at soldiers. They're already on heightened alert, and then of course we see the beginning of one of the droid, the K2SO, but it's not K2SO from Rogue One, but
right.
And so he gets arrested. His briefcase is still in the condo that he had where he shared the night with the girl. So I don't know if we'll see the girl again. I don't think she knew the briefcase was there. He stored it above the shower, right? That held all his credits and everything. So, and then he goes in front of the magistrate or whatever, and they sentence him to what, 6 years?
6 years for what were the charges? I can't remember, but it was just they're starting to show you like the Empire is becoming what we know them to be, and
no justice, no trial or anything. It's like boom, 6 years, you're gone. There was a scene when he's back on the home planet, and he's asking his friend, the girl that her name escapes me, but about who hired her, and when he got contacted for the job. I'm assuming that's going to end up being Saw Gerrera or someone like that, or maybe he meets Saw Gerrera in jail. But we know he's not going to serve 6 years because he shows up in Rogue One.
Right.
So,
what's the time difference between this and Rogue One?
I think it's like 5 years.
Okay.
I think it's like 5 years.
Saw Gerrera actually, because he showed up in another Star Wars property. It was a video game called Jedi Fallen Order. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if they'll tie that in somehow too, because it's supposed to be part of the canon.
maybe Tony Gilroy, who's the showrunner for Andor, he's not a big Star Wars fan per se, and you could see a little bit of that in
how he's done it.
how he's done this show.
Star Wars, yeah.
It's a good show, and I like where it's going. I'm starting to be more invested in it, but I don't know if he's going to tie into some of that canon. If it was Filoni and Favreau, it would absolutely do that.
Right.
But we do know Saw Gerrera's returning. How about the scene with Mon Mothma where they're at the dinner party, and she runs into the childhood friend, I think Tay Colma, and I thought that was a really good cat and mouse scene where she's walking around. She knows that she's maybe being listened to or watched, and she doesn't trust anybody. And you find out that Tay Colma says, "I don't have the same political taste that you do," which leads you to believe.
Does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And so, but she never quite says. He says, "Well, what is it?" She's trying to recruit him, and she needs his help to free up her funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but she won't tell him it's the rebellion. And so I thought that was a very, very good scene. I find myself, and I don't know if other people are experiencing this, but every scene that has Deidre or Luthen or Mon Mothma, I'm all in. I love it. I want to see more of it. I'm not struggling a little bit, but some of the scenes with Cassian Andor, I'm just wondering if, he was a supporting player in the Rogue One film. Can he carry this by himself?
No.
I don't know. I'm not as excited when he has his scenes. Some of his scenes are really good, but I want to see more of Mon Mothma. I want to see more Luthen. And an example of that is Keela, the assistant for Luthen. She shows up on Coruscant. She meets Val,
Right.
who was on the mission, and says, "Hey, we want you to take out Cassian Andor." That's the real name. I liked that scene. I thought, okay, where's the Luthen's assistant? There's way more to her than meets the eye. Those types of characters I've been fascinated by. I want to see more of them. I think there's more development with Cassian that has to be done, and I'm not all the way there yet, but I do like where it's going. And now that he's going to be in some sort of prison system, who knows who he's going to meet? But
How much development can you get though? Because you know how his story ends. And you've got 5 years in between now and when that happens, which we've all seen.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's a whole lot they can do with character development with them. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little more interested now because of how it ties in with the greater Star Wars universe. But
right.
from what I've read, the ratings aren't very good. And I don't know how accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate some of those. Because when you do streaming, it's a little harder. You don't really know how they count it, So, but I don't even know if it was in the top 10. So
no, some of the ratings, the tracking of it, and I watched some of the other YouTube channels out there that we like, that we watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give a shout out to Star Wars Theory; they're fantastic. Some of the tracking I've seen from some of the other channels and people that have pulled up the data on social media shows that Andor is tracking below Book of Boba Fett, which is a little scary. You've got, obviously, Mandalorian was the highest rated Star Wars.
Book of
Disney
Boba
Plus
Fett
show.
wasn't good though. You had Boba Fett, which is a popular character. He's not on the level of like Vader.
But the question becomes to the common fan or to the person that's not a diehard Star Wars fan, are you going to tune in to watch Andor? So that's the question. So you've got Mandalorian, which built a fan base all of its own. Then you had Book of Boba Fett, which did not do as great. I thought that was a character they could have stayed within the Mandalorian show. But then you had Obi-Wan. There was a lot of excitement about Obi-Wan, and there were moments in Obi-Wan that were really good.
Right.
But I thought the writing and the directing left a lot to be desired.
It was bad, yeah.
It was very disjointed. And so I don't know how many people were turned off by that or just, didn't really care. And now you have Andor. So the question becomes, all this content that's being put out, is Andor sustainable? I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to stick with it. I do think the show's getting better. I think that for those that stick with it, I think there will be a payoff. I like where it's going. I like the characters like Kayla and Luthen and Val and Deidre and Mon Mothma. There's so many good characters in this, and I think more are coming. So if we think about the show in 3-episode blocks, we're now in the third block. We're in episodes 7, 8, 9, where this one just started. He's going to prison, some sort of prison camp or system. So that could be interesting. Who is he going to meet? What's going to happen there? And so I think that my prediction will be that whatever his situation is will resolve itself by episode 9, so that we will head into the last block of the season. If what I've read and what I've seen is true, but I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it more with each episode. I think there's more tie-in, and how do you feel? Do you feel a lot better about it than you did a few weeks ago?
I don't know if I feel a lot better about it. I think it's one of those things that if it does get really good, I think people can go back and start watching it. If word of mouth picks up, and they're that's what happened with Game of Thrones. People went back and started watching the old seasons because the new seasons, the word of mouth kept picking up. So that could happen. If it gets better, people could go back and watch it, and it could be really successful. I'm a little more interested than I was, but it's kind of boring, for now. But I think I'm definitely going to finish it, and
we
give
have
it a shot.
5 episodes left, so
they only have one season after that. So
right.
They don't have a whole lot of room.
Well, I believe there's going to be time jumps next season where they go 1 year for every couple of episodes. That's what I was told. So it's a 5-year.
So how would they do that? I guess maybe he gets stuck in prison for a while. Or?
No, I think he'll be out of prison, and they'll progress the story with Saw Gerrera and the beginning of the rebellion.
Yeah.
You think about it. We meet him in Rogue One, and he's been in the rebellion for a while.
Right.
He's one of the big guys in there, so that they trust.
Right.
By the time we get to Rogue One, Mon Mothma trusts him. So
yeah.
So I have hope for it. I like it, and I'm interested to see where it goes, and we'll be here to cover it. As we wrap up, remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, and make sure to subscribe so that we can grow the channel. And TCB.